All right. Well, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a very special guest. I have Kate Hersey, and she's the executive director of the Minnesota Tool Library. I discovered this actually at a trade show. I was at the Remodelers Convention, and a nice gal approached me and said, "Have you heard of the Tool Library?" And I said, "I have not. Tell me about it." And then I went and I took a tour, and I was very impressed. And I thought, I have to bring this to everybody because it will save you a lot of money, and I think you'll find it a really good resource. So with that, I'm going to have Kate introduce herself and tell us about her company and how it works. So Kate, have the floor.
Excellent, thanks. The Minnesota Tool Library is probably one of the best kept secrets that we have here in the Twin Cities.
Mhm.
That's not intentional. We want to spread the word, so please tell everyone we exist. But we are a very small, volunteer-driven nonprofit. And our mission is kind of threefold. It's to empower each other, to reduce waste, and then also to improve our communities. And we do that through sharing tools, trade skills, and shop space. The Tool Library has two branches. One is in Northeast Minneapolis, which is the one that John visited most recently. And we have another branch in St. Paul, right on the border of Como and the Northdale neighborhood. We are actually one of the largest tool libraries in the world, which is pretty darn exciting. We have just shy of about 9,000 items in our inventory that members can check out and use for all their home improvement and repair needs, lawn and gardening projects, hobbyist woodworking projects, and kind of those Pinterest make and take. So every tool you can think of, we have, So one of our goals really through sharing those materials is that people can invest more in their homes, build equity in their homes, tackle deferred maintenance a lot easier, do upgrades, right? Without having to invest in the tools to do them. So they can actually invest in the materials or do more projects around the house. And so we not only provide the resources in terms of the physical tools that people check out from the lending library, but we also have a wide variety of programming that helps people learn trade skills and learn that kind of traditional trades canon that's gone missing, right? Because it used to be there were 10 or 15 core projects that every homeowner would kind of know how to do around their house, right? And
Mhm.
nowadays, we've lost those kind of general trade skills. And so we have to hire them out, which makes it much more expensive.
Mhm.
Um, and even the most turnkey of homes is not truly turnkey once you're in it for a little bit, right?
Right. Right. Yeah, there's always some deferred maintenance, and you're right. People do lose the skills. I'm a pretty good painter, but that's kind of where I stop and start.
Yep. And there are so many small projects that people can do in their homes. And so part of sharing that trade space knowledge is not only how to do it properly, right? You decide you want to put a new backsplash on. We're going to teach you the difference between mortar and grout and drywall mud so you don't inadvertently put the wrong materials up and have those DIY disasters, right? So we'll help people through that process. We'll help them identify the appropriate tools they need for their project because the right tool can make all the difference. And by sharing, everyone is able to not only reduce the costs in terms of that investment to do the project, but they're also able to really reduce their environmental footprint. So if you think of any tool you might have in your basement or garage, right? An MTL member not only doesn't have to go out and buy a roof rake for the one time a year they might need it, obviously not this winter, they don't have to store it. They don't have it to take up that valuable space or the tile saw they're using for the backsplash project or any number of items like that. And so we have a wide variety from kind of those everyday items, lawn and garden equipment, your circular saw or your miter saw that you might need to rip a few cuts for putting on some new baseboard trim, right? You can you can borrow the air compressor, which is a great example. That tool if you think about an air compressor, it uses a lot of metal. It's got a nice little motor in it. You've got hoses. Think of all the resources that are saved when we're all not purchasing that item, having all the packaging. We're not taking all that metal out of the earth. But also, an air compressor in a traditional homeowner's life gets used maybe 4 times a year, unless there's a really heavy project, right? It fills some tires up once in a while. It might get tossed onto a brad nailer for a project once a year. Pretty minimal. A single one of our air compressors went out over 400 times last year alone.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So the impact we can have through sharing those items, right, is huge in terms of an environmental impact as well. And so we really kind of help our members push and challenge our kind of traditional consumer behavior where we just go out and grab it, you know. And most of our inventory is made from reclaimed tools, so donations that have come when people are cleaning out the garage and realize, hey, at some point I went out to the big box store and I have 1,000 tape measures because I could never find it right where it was. Right? Or when people are downsizing their homes and their shops in terms of craftspeople and tradespeople, we get beautiful gifts of just amazing, well-maintained workshop tools, and then those go into our inventory. So the other benefit is you can try, before you buy for those things that you do actually want to consume traditionally. You can figure out what is your favorite brand and what fits your hand, and all those kinds of things before investing. If you've, like many people I know during the pandemic, got sucked into watching wood turning videos, which is my favorite example. They're so much fun and it looks so easy. But, purchasing a good lathe is a multi-$1,000 purchase. And not everyone has that money sitting around to test it out and go, do I really like wood turning? Or the space to store it in their garage or basement. So.
Right.
That's a little bit about the tool library.
Well, tell me a little bit about the classes. So you mentioned, let's say somebody does want to do a tile backsplash, and they've never done it, and so they don't even know how to do it or the equipment that they need. How does that happen with you?
Yeah, so we benefit from some amazing volunteers and tradespeople who donate their time to help share their skills. And so we offer between 4 and 12 classes a month. Our classes are all open to the general public, so you don't have to be a member to attend them, although members do have a class discount in terms of that fee. And those classes range from basic shop class. So if you need a refresher or you never got a chance to take wood shop, you can come take a traditional shop class. There are targeted make and take classes. So you want to do a cutting board class, right? And so our goal is always really teaching those trade skills and going, okay, here are the tools, here's how you use them, here's how we're going to make this project. And if you took the way, part of our mission is accessibility. So we really try to make sure that access is at the core of our mission. So if you were to go and take a cutting board class at a local, well-known woodworking store here in the Twin Cities, it might cost you $175, which is a little hefty for a cutting board, right?
Sure.
I mean, you're getting fabulous skills as well, but not everybody can drop that. Our class, which is literally the same curriculum, taught by some of the same people, is $65 for non-members and $45 for members.
Wow.
So that gives you an idea. Most of our classes have a price point anywhere between $15 and $60 is kind of the most common. And that includes materials.
Wow.
And so we don't schedule really far out in advance because our teachers are generally volunteers. So we always say, just click on the classes tab of our website. Anyone can register. And new classes get loaded pretty much weekly as they get confirmed with our instructors. So if I went right now, I can tell you we have a class on relining a wood coat coming up. So we also have textile tools in our inventory. We have a class on mortise and tenon joinery. We have a floor refinishing, kind of brew and build, which are our classes that are more kind of discussion open houses. And then we have another actual refinishing class that we're following that up with in March.
Hmm.
We have intro to shop, using a card scraper. What else? We have oil changes 101. There are a few others that I know I've already sold out as I'm looking on the calendar here. So it's really kind of a very wide variety. We have a simple electrical repairs class. So that teaches people not only how to like change out a fixture in your house, but how to understand your own circuitry and change a power cord that you've inadvertently cut through.
Well, that sounds like just all the stuff that you need, that you need in everyday life that people
Yeah,
just don't know how to
it
do.
runs the gamut. So some of them are a little bit kind of more fun and hobbyist projects. So we have one coming up soon that'll be listed about using a router to make signs. So you can make a sign for the cabin, or maybe you haven't found any really beautiful house numbers and you want to make your own routered house numbered sign.
Hmm,
Right?
good idea.
So things like that, and we'll go through not only just how to make it, but we generally start people with the selection of materials, how
Hmm,
you prep them, how you prepare them, how you prepare your various tools, because our focus is less on the end product and more on truly sharing those skills. So it's a little bit different from the paint and sip kind of DIY classes where you're just hammering something together and
sure.
and couldn't necessarily replicate it.
Are the classes in the evenings or the weekends, and are they a series, or are they a one-off deal, or how does that work?
Most of our classes are one-offs. Some of the larger build projects, making takes like a coffee table or an end table, might be 2 sessions, or it might be a small series. We have a mixture. They're mostly offered evening and weekends when people are in project mode, but we do have some daytime classes as well.
Okay.
And that is very similar to the tool library hours. So between the libraries, we're open 31 hours a week currently for full operations. And then we kind of schedule our classes and our other programming around those hours. But Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we have midday hours from 10 to 1 at one of the branches. And then we have evening hours uh, as well, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. Fridays, we have limited operations at our St. Paul branch because we focus on tool maintenance and repair, but anyone is welcome to join us for that and learn how to repair and maintain tools and change out blades and sharpen things. And then Saturdays and Sundays we're open as well.
Wow, very nice. And did this idea get started here in the Twin Cities, or was it brought here from another area?
Yeah, so lending libraries have been around since World War II.
Hmm,
They were very common after that, small local kind of groups. And we got away from that in our consumer culture and having those shared resources, right? But they really had a resurgence in the 70s and then most recently in the 90s. So they tend to have a little
hmm,
bit more of a resurgence after kind of any depression era because people start to rethink
sure.
rethink their spending priorities. There are about 60 tool libraries in the United States,
Hmm,
and hundreds more throughout the world. The EU is very big in terms of tool libraries recently, especially with the focus, environmental focus on the circular economy.
hmm,
And we work with tool libraries all across the world as well. So it's really fun as well. We are a very kind of local focused group, we are sitting there and talking with the Reykjavik tool library and about programming and
Oh,
sharing resources there. So it's a really kind of neat movement and network.
very
The
much.
Minnesota Tool Library has been around since 2014.
Okay.
We opened our Northeast branch first, and within kind of 6 months of being in business, we had outgrown our space and outgrown our tools, and we had to move to a larger suite.
Hmm.
And then St. Paul opened up 2 years later. So we're almost 10 years old,
Are you the
which is pretty
founder of it
exciting.
here in the Twin Cities?
I am not. I joined the tool library about 6 years ago
Okay.
as really its first paid admin staff. And my background is both in nonprofit management and leadership development, but I also grew up doing construction. So for me, this was just a perfect mix of kind of all my passion projects. And I loved the focus on accessibility, and, just the opportunity to allow people the chance to explore the trades, right? Which a lot of people don't get, a lot of people don't learn those skills, which I um, saw, very clearly when I got married and we had bought our first home, and I said, "Oh yeah, I can do this, this, and this." And my husband was
Uh,
like, "What do you mean? How do we do this?" Right? And even as someone who's a carpenter, that's my background is carpentry, but we had to we have 100-year-old house like many people in the cities,
yeah.
and we had a pedestal sink in our lovely bathroom, and toddlers and pedestal sinks and toddlers do not mix very well. um, and so we needed to swap out that fixture, which is pretty easy to do. We both felt not totally comfortable in our ability to do it ourselves because neither of us had a plumbing background. Um, we got one quote, which was over $2,000 to do that. And we went, oh, that's a lot more than a price tag than I was ready for. And then we took a $25 class, Intro to Plumbing, at the tool library, learned what we were doing. We were able to um, cut down and rethread our pipe because when we had pulled it out, our pipe was not coming out of the wall at standard lengths, thus no new fixture would sit nicely. So we were able to cut back our copper pipe. We were able to rethread it instead of
Oh,
having to
wow.
put in like all new line, which is what any plumber would have required you to do because it's no fun there. Um, Replumb our sink, and now we have a beautiful fixture with actual stability and storage in our bathroom, right?
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
it's very cool. And I think what's really nice is we have users that have never picked up a hammer in their lives, right? And we have seasoned tradespeople and everyone in between. So it's really an open and welcoming environment for anyone to just learn and explore. And that's really important
Sure.
because the trades historically have been a bit of a boys club, right? You don't
Mhm.
necessarily learn it unless you already have a connection. And
Sure.
so for me personally, that is also something that I think is really exciting. And our memberships are all household. So the other benefit there is in any standard relationship, there's usually kind of a lead DIYer in the family, right? And so we intentionally made our memberships household so that that additional family member kind of comes in the door and gets a chance to explore and take on different projects and build their skills and confidence as well. Um,
So does that end at adulthood? Or like, let's say like I have adult children, for example. So if
mhm.
I had a membership, would my kids be covered under me or now, because they're adults, they're on their own type of thing, or how does that
It's
work?
the same household, so we base it on address.
Oh, okay.
Um, and we do have the membership officially covers anyone who's 18 or over, but children our mini MTLers are more than welcome in the shop and more than welcome to participate. And we do some youth programming. It's not uncommon to see, my 6-year-old sitting behind the desk at the,
Oh, wow.
at the library. Like, what would you like to check out today? So we even have a class series that's kind of a family shop that's called Wood Chips,
Hmm,
which is an open shop during different hours. So it's a little bit more quiet in the library and
sure.
mentored so that individuals and families can kind of help teach those skills and let their kids explore uh, regardless of their personal skill level. And so we'll have scout groups come in and
Wow. Well, tell me about the cost of the memberships. So I think you have a couple of different memberships open, and what if somebody has like a one-time need or one-time use? So maybe talk about the membership and how somebody could engage with you guys.
Sure. So our membership model is household and it's annual. So we always say there are the projects you plan for, and then there are the projects that pop up, especially as a homeowner, right? And
Mhm.
so it was really intentional on our part that we said, okay, we want it to be an all-you-can-eat buffet once you join, right? It's long term because you never know what you're going to need or what season. And that's one of the things that sets us apart from like a traditional rental business, in addition to the cost savings. But
Mhm.
um, so their household memberships, our standard membership is $120 a year. So less than most people spend on their coffee budget, quite
For
frankly.
sure.
And for that, you have unlimited access to all the tools in our inventory, to the shop during open hours. You have free MTL basics classes, so
Hmm,
usually one or two completely free classes a month. And then you get a 20% discount on our other classes and merchandise. Um, and that covers that really represents the true cost of running the library, right? Because we have to store and maintain all the equipment and manage the software, which is that other benefit that you get. You don't have to go, oh, why isn't this
hmm,
working? How do I fix it? Or or worry that the tool you borrowed from your neighbor you inadvertently break and now you have to go,
sure.
oh, I'm so sorry. What did I do? Right, so we take that liability on, and so we obviously have that overhead of insurance and things.
Sure.
We also have a $250 membership option, our supporting membership. And that also includes 2 premium free classes and guest passes. So you can kind of share the tool library or bring along a non-member to go take
Hmm,
a class with you. And then we offer a limited membership for $65 a year. And the main difference there is that you have 6 uses of the shop, and you're limited to 10 items at a time. So you can still take out as many tools as you'd like throughout the calendar year. You can only have 10 in your 10 at home at a time though.
wow. I can't imagine having more than 10. Do some people take out more than that?
Yes, and really for us that in itself is a limit of convenience versus access. And so we're pretty intentional that way. So it doesn't limit anyone from being able to do projects or being
Hmm,
able to take out a certain type of tool. But it does mean that you might have to stop by the library more often, or you might have to do one project at a time and not try to multitask 3 different things.
sure, sure. And one of the
Yeah.
things when I met there and took the tour with the volunteer, she was saying that you could renew, like if nobody else had it, you could renew it like for 3 weeks, I
Yep.
believe. But I'll maybe address that. I'd like to say I borrow a hammer, for example.
You can. Yes. So,
Okay.
and we do have hammers in the inventory. They don't go out that often, but you'd be amazed. So our standard loan is 1 week. So that's really useful. It gives people more time. Generally, our members on almost all of our tools can renew up to 3 times, um, just within their account if they need it for longer. Our members who are further out of state sometimes will set up their loan and right away go, hey, I know I'm going to need this for 2 weeks, and that's fine. We can set that up.
Hmm.
So almost all of our inventory is available for basically a month to have. At that point, we usually try to get it back into the library just so we can take stock of it, make sure it's all still in good condition. But we have multiple items of tools as well. So if someone really needs it longer than that, they can usually renew it. They just have to ask the branch manager to renew it for them. So we just have to do that on the admin end.
Okay, cool. And you
Projects always seem to take longer than you expect when you're a DIYer.
exactly cost more, take longer. Yep, that's the way it
Yep.
works.
And that's one of those benefits. So if you think of like a traditional rental as well, right? So let's take a reciprocating saw is a great example. You're going through, maybe you're taking down some fencing or you're doing some tree trimming, right? It's a yucky weekend, what have you. If you were to rent that for a week, a standard reciprocating saw from your local big box store, it would cost you about $200.
Oh, wow.
So that's for 1 week. So what happens a lot in the rental areas, people will go, okay, here's this tile saw. I have it for 2 hours or 4 hours, right? It's really high. I don't get to my project done. And then they have to renew it and the expense kind of very quickly gets away from you and becomes a little astronomical.
Sure.
But our lending library works just like a traditional book library, right? So on your account, you can make reservations in advance, or you can just come in and
Hmm.
pick items off the shelves. You check them out. You can manage your renewals. We do have late fees at like $1 a day to encourage people to get them back on time. But other than that, it's pretty easy peasy. Our members all do sign, a standard sign your life away waiver of liability. Uh, but there's no formal training that's required before you're allowed to take things out or to use the workshop. And again, that was an intentional choice because of accessibility, because not everyone can get to a shop 101 training when you offer it once a month on Tuesday night, right? And everyone has different schedules. So, and because of that, we pour a lot more of our budget into tool repair and maintenance. But we try to ensure that our inventory, which is all viewable and accessible online, you can search it. You can search it by like what type of project you want to do or what branch you're picking up on, or for a particular tool. If you know exactly what you want. But we want on those listings, we have kind of educational information as well in terms of what its uses are and how you use the tool properly and a link to the manual and all that kind of jazz. And our tradespeople and our tool librarians are always there to kind of help people when they haven't ever used a tool, right? And go, okay, do you need to know how to swap out the blade on this oscillating multi-tool, or have you used this before? Let me show you how to set it up or how to do X, Y, or Z. So there's a little bit more support and hand holding and kind of mentorship than you get when you go and
Sure.
buy something at your big box store anyway, right? You can go and buy a circular saw at the store and nobody's going to walk you through how to properly use it or ensure
Sure.
you read the manual before you go to town on your project. Maybe they should, but
What about things like a chainsaw? And do you have those and do you sharpen them so that if somebody comes in, they know it's going to be ready or that they have to change the blade, or how does that work?
yeah, we do. So you'd be hard pressed to find anything that we don't have in inventory with the exception of gas powered items. So generally we try to stay away from gas powered items because they take a lot more repair and maintenance when
Hmm?
everybody has to try to get their oil and gas mixtures right.
Mm-hmm.
But we have that. We offer both consumables on site, so additional blades, sandpaper, all of those things that you might need that'll get used up. Generally, all of our items will have, especially bladed items, will have a set of blades on it or with it that are deemed in good condition. And so our circular saws, for example, are all going to have kind of a multi-purpose blade on them. But if you need a metal cutting blade, you're going to have to go get your own blade and swap it out.
Sure.
We do offer some of those consumables and some of those like specialty blades or for like a grout blade, which will die within one use.
Hmm.
We do offer those at the library at a discounted rate when available. So it's kind of a mix. But for example, when people are putting up trim, when they're using a brad nailer or finish nailer, right? Most of the time, they're only going to use one magazine of brads. They're not going to go through more than 100. Think of it like a round of staples, right? Or a staple gun. They're going to go through one round of staples. And generally, people have to go out and they buy a huge box that has 1,500 brads in it. And then after that project, that box sits on a shelf in the garage or the basement and gets beaten up. And then eventually there's a whole bunch of fasteners that no one knows what size or shape they're for or what they belong to.
Yeah, that's very much the case. Yeah.
We can all think of those assorted mason jars or coffee cans that are sitting in a pile somewhere, right?
Yes.
And so our goal with that is also in that waste reduction, ensuring that people don't have to invest in it and go spend $1,000 on,
Yeah.
brands that they're gonna.
Oh, those are all tremendous things. Now, what about, you'd mentioned earlier that there's a realtor program. I was not familiar with that and the closing gifts. Can you tell me how that works?
Yeah, so one of the things we've noticed, and we designed it after a number of our members who are realtors came in, and we realized that um, they said, hey, I've always been looking for something that's a really cool closing gift that isn't a bottle of wine or isn't like some household tchotchke that may or may not match people's thoughts. So, um, can you please get your sister to stop yelling? Oh my, sorry.
We'll wrap it up here very quickly. I see you've got little ones that have just arrived.
Full
So,
time, that's all right. They'll come in and get through the door. But so what we designed was closing gifts that make a difference. And basically, it's a program that makes it easier for realtors to buy gift certificates to the tool library to use as closing gifts.
okay.
And so then their homeowners can utilize those to for towards membership or merchandise or towards classes.
Sure.
So it basically we have a discount. We allow realtors as well to buy guest passes in bulk, which
Okay.
is something we don't traditionally make available. And guest passes are like one-off uses to the tool library, whereas
Okay.
with a traditional membership, you'd have that full year of membership.
Sure. Do you know how much that costs, or is that something on the website or something a realtor would contact you directly about, or how?
Yep. They can just contact programming at mntoolibrary.org and we can send them all the details. And
Okay.
we have a way to customize the gift certificates as well. So we can put individual branding and things on it.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I'm going to ask that you send that to me when we're done so I can learn
Yes,
more
I
about
will,
that.
most definitely.
That sounds like a great idea. Well,
Yeah,
good. Well,
it's really neat. I think what's really cool is in terms of like our programming, there's just so much, right? Obviously, our core program is the lending library itself. But then we also have the shop space. So at each of our branches, we have a community wood shop. So you can come in and use those larger tools. You can do projects there if you don't have a good space in your home, right? Or your garage, or on a traditional winter, it's too cold in your garage to do a project.
right, right.
You can come into the tool library and use the larger shop and the larger shop tools and those items that aren't mobile, like our huge table saw or really large bandsaws and items like that.
Yeah, I was amazed. It was packed when I was there. All the people were cooperating and taking their turns, and like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, we kind of go kindergarten rules apply as a general, right? So, but what's really great is there's this whole community of people who share resources and share their skill sets and their experiences, whether they're DIYers or tradespeople. And
Sure.
it's really fun when you hear everybody's like projects and they just go, "Oh, who's this?" Or, somebody comes in and you can tell they're unsure exactly what they're doing on the bandsaw, even if it's not one of our shop mentors who are kind of our volunteers who are there for that purpose. Other members will go right up and offer a hand,
Nice.
and advice is needed, which is really cool.
So if somebody's watching this and they are a tradesman or woman and retired and or just wanting to give back and they wanted to be a volunteer, maybe just real quickly tell us how they could get involved in that capacity.
Yeah, yes, please. We love all volunteers. And you don't have to be a tradesperson either. So that's one common misconception. Obviously, people with trade skills are very valuable and can help us teach classes or work as shop mentors. But we are pretty much an all volunteer organization. So you can help with social media or accounting or grant writing or anything. Help in the shop, help as a tool librarian, we'll train you in. So right on our website under get involved, there's kind of a little interest form. That's usually the best spot for people to let us know they want to help out.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I appreciate your time today. Tell us the website, tell us any other contact information that you would like to share and how people can find out more about, whether it's on Facebook or the website, how they can find out more about you and the
Yeah.
company.
So all of our social media is just at Minnesota Tool Library. So whether that's Facebook or Instagram, it's very easy to find.
Okay.
And then our website is mntoolllibrary.org. So we are a .org. That's usually the tricky one for people.
Nice.
But everything is on our website. It's not the prettiest, but there is a ton of information there. So scroll through the pages, look at the FAQ. People can sign up and learn more about membership directly online. You don't have to like come into the library to do it. Um, and we always welcome people to join the movement and stop by either of our branches and get a quick tour. You can always just pop in and our branch manager will walk you through and show it off.
Yep. Yep. They sure did. They're very welcoming, very nice people. So, well,
It's a good
great.
crew.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Kate, anything else before I stop the recording that you'd like the audience to know?
I don't think so. I think, our classes and membership, information on donating tools to the library and volunteering, that's all right there on that FAQ page in particular of the website.
Okay.
You can search through and see everything we have, and if there's something that you're looking for and can't quite find it immediately, you can always shoot us an email. That's always the best way to reach us because we're all part-time. So we're not necessarily physically at the branch
Sure.
when it's not open hours. So any MTL at mntoolllibrary.org or SPTL at mntoolllibrary.org for either branch is great, or you can just shoot it to programming.
Okay.
It's a good catch-all when in doubt.
Sounds wonderful. Sounds wonderful. Well, this has been really great. Thanks for sharing all this great information. I hope everybody goes out and visits. I know I have a garage full of tools that I would not have bought had I
Yeah.
known
So
about this sooner. So,
slowly weed them out and reclaim space every once in a while. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's really fun. We do a number of community events as well. We have a big Make It competition in the spring, which is a building
Hmm.
competition that's open to the public. We do pumpkins and power drills in the fall,
Oh,
which
wow.
is a pumpkin carving event with tools, as you can imagine. And then we have some fun things like our artist in residence program and our pre-apprenticeship program that we're launching soon. So there are lots of different
Oh,
ways to get involved. And I'm always amazed at the amount of programming and just the things that our volunteers come up with, um, and tackle because we have, you know, less than 2 FTE in terms of staff, paid staff that are kind of doing everything within the organization. Else is truly done by volunteers. So
How does your, real quick, how does your pumpkin carving event work, and do you get a good attendance to it?
we do. We usually have about 3 carves a season. They tend to be hosted out at local breweries, and we go and we
Okay.
pick hundreds of pumpkins from a local farm. And we haul them all up to the brewery, and then people are welcome to come and carve with us. They can make reservations in advance, or they can show up that day. They can purchase pumpkins to support the tool library, or they can bring their own or do a combo. And we teach them how to use some core tools to gut and carve their pumpkins, and people just
Oh,
get to hang out and have beer and carve
yeah.
pumpkins and learn some things about power tools and learn a little bit about the tool library. And we get, drills in the hands of little tinies, and it's
Wow.
super fun.
That sounds super fun. It does. I love beer. I love beer, and I love going to breweries. So I might have to
I
attend
mean,
your pumpkin
how can
one.
you beat it?
I love it. Love it. Well, that's great. Well, this has been just a ton of fun. Thank you again. I'm just going to go ahead and stop the recording. So
Perfect.
thank you for coming today, and to stay with me.
Thank you so much.